Hi class, this is Marshall Sponder, your lecturer for Web Analytics 9738 and 4123, and this is the last of the 10 presentations. This one I couldn't actually get into the regular template, so I just left it in the Rutledge template, more or less. And we do have a brief foray into ComScore in this course. Now we have it back again, and we have different kinds of data. We talk a little bit about first, second, and third party data in chapter 7 of your course pack. You get chapter 5, 6, and 7 of the book. The book will be coming out in a couple of months from the time I'm making this recording. And we know from previous presentations that first party data is the data we can collect off of our websites, data we own in-house. Second party data is first party data of another company that is shared with us, like in a business partner relationship. And third party data is pretty much everything else that comes from a third party that's collected by someone else and issued to us, usually with anonymized data that's been cleaned and organized for us, like ComScore and Nielsen, so we can understand it. Now, why do we need it? Well, there's a lot of data out there that we can't get on our own website that might be useful for us to have when we can't collect it, so we need to go out and buy it. And also because the people who collect that data also organize it and clean it, something that we're not always willing to do. So there's some pros and cons to that, because on the pro side, they're collecting the data and organizing for us. On the negative side, it may not be organized properly for everything we want to do with it, and two, we may not be able to see the bias in that data. So while we're getting data, we don't know the innards of how they prepared it exactly. You know, the problem with a lot of these tools, though, that the third-party data tools, ComScore, Nielsen, zillion other tools, I just use them as examples, is that sometimes you don't have everything from one tool that you need, but another tool has something that the other one doesn't have. So you try to get them to all work together. And the problem with the third-party tools is that it doesn't really work very well to try to add these things together, like, take a little bit of ComScore and a little bit of Nielsen, because they're different methodologies and the different panels that they're using to get the data. There's a lot of bias already in the data, and at some point when you add multiple different data sources together, you're getting something that's even worse than the bias that are in there. And so you may be way, way off. So I don't advise mixing these data sources together. I think they should be laid side by side if you're going to use them in any context where they're both all present at the same time. At least there you can see some patterns and correspondences, but I think it would be a mistake to mix them together in any way. But we see that most companies don't even use the data they have, much less the data they're buying. And so there's a lot of data out there to be used. And organizations will combine this data. Like Capital One created a deal optimization engine to analyze customer demographics and spending patterns. They were often use that data to put the right deals in front of people, and this led to more buying their products. And T-Mobile reduced their customer turnover by half by looking at the usage patterns of people using their service and who would come to their website. And they're also able to see which ones they should concentrate on. Again, not that different than the Informatica case study. And then Starbucks got the location data from people who visited the Starbucks and people around there, and they were able to locate stores close to one another, but they didn't cannibalize business from each other. Now, the way that the platforms collect this data is by tagging. they collect a lot of data when the page renders, and so the tagging collection needs to be correct, and it usually goes into a tag management system because that way you can automate it if you know, but that's basically what they're for. But you have to have some coding experience if you're going to take it that far. So you can see, for example, on the left you have the Google Analytics tag, but on the right you can get rid of all the tags for all the different platforms and just have one tag that pulls in all the other tags. So I mean, that's kind of what this chart shows as I'm seeing it. A disadvantage is having tag management systems. That's a layer of software that organizes. For one thing, if you do it right, you can keep all of your content up to date with a minimal amount of effort. But on the other hand, so that's a good point. But on the other hand, these tags are sharing data, and then if it's not clean, if you don't get rid of the previous tags that you're not using anymore, it'll slow down. And you may need some coding experience to really leverage tagging solutions, tagging management systems. So you do need, and not all of them are equal. And tag management systems collect first, third, and third-party data. You can combine them that way. So here's just an example, and all the different industries like media and airlines, credit card, retail. And then we have these things called data lakes, which we studied in the last presentation, that we can collect all this data into a bunch of Hadoop clusters where they're not necessarily organized or changed in any way, but just sitting there waiting to be processed, and then they're returned and maybe annotated, but they're not, not a data warehouse. But the problem with data lakes in particular in this case study is that there isn't any real keeping track of the content or annotating the content all that well. And then because of that, you could throw anything in there that may become a data swamp if you're not careful. So ComScore has something we're going to look at this semester. It covers over 2 million panel finalists in 170 countries. It has a thing called UDM, a Unified Digital Measurement. It's a panel, and they're able to, identify people, not just cookies. And they update that database regularly, and they get new people, new panelists. And they're not really about accuracy of the numbers as much as making meaningful comparisons across company and stimulating online marketing spend. I think that's what mainly ComScore is used for, but it could be used for market research as well. So there's a lot of ComScore products, but we only have access to 2. We have the regular My Metrics and the Plan Metrics. That's all we have. And there's a bunch of standard reports such as demographics, target trend, media trend, audience duplication, source loss, percentage of change in media trend. And I'll have a video on that as well. There's a lot of other data we can combine with ComScore and Web Analytics, such as ABI Inform, Academic OneFile. A lot of these you can get in the library. So all of these you can get in the library. In fact, I did look at all the different library databases and found about 3 to 5% that I think that could be used in digital marketing, which is actually pretty good, actually. IBISWorld's one I really like. Gartner is a good one for IT. And Mintel, I haven't used much. Privco, I know something about. Simmons, OneView, for demographics. Statistica, Mark. These are all great tools. We also just touch a little bit in this course upon programmatic. This is automated advertising and media buying and selling. I'll try to put some presentations in the course that deal with programmatic a little bit, but we're going to be very light on it. We had focused on it in the past because as you scale marketing, this is one of the reasons that you need to how you scale marketing. And now what they're having a problem with and trying to master is how to come up with enough unique creative to take advantage of that technology that's been developed. And that programmatic can be used of anything. It's amazing, and you can do targeting based on where you're successful. But there are some problems, programmatic and transparency, and the fact that a lot of publishers don't feel they're getting fully compensated for the marketing spend that they're spending on this stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on there that's not. There's a reason to question it. And also you don't have control of where these ads appear. So you may be paying for something you're not actually thinking you're getting. Is one thing and you're not actually getting what you think you're paying for. And so on. So the summary for this is you've got all this excellent data that you can merge together and store, and you can also manage it with tag management. And I think the summary of all these 10 presentations is that, Web Analytics was good at capturing the data on the website, but again, the data that Web Analytics captured was intermediate metrics, or as Gohar says later in our book, Action Analytics. It's good for engagement measurement, but doesn't actually give you any kind of ROI or really good business data. You can get some excellent third-party data from ComScore and Nielsen. We have some ComScore in this class. And then you can also scale your marketing with programmatic ad buying. So I won't really go into these. Are trying to keep these presentations brief, and I'll try to go into some different presentations into web analytics and a little bit in programmatic. And hopefully, with all your assignments, you'll have a great time doing all of this and getting an interesting understanding of the marketing stack. I leave you now. Marshall Sponder for Web Analytics, signing out. Cheers.